for the sign. Okay, I'm live.
Okay, I'm
All right,
about to
good.
be.
So, hi, folks.
Hello.
This is Court. There's Jason. It's Yankee T News and that fabulous emerging media powerhouse, Connecticut Common Sense News and Entertainment.
And here we are live on Facebook as well with Court Warnowski on Wednesday night, the 25th of March. And
Right.
once again, the collaboration between
Right.
Yankee T News and Common Sense News and Entertainment, which, by the way,
Yes.
is now official. I got a letter from the Connecticut Secretary of State. We are now officially a corporation.
Good.
It happened finally. So look out.
Welcome to the club, Bob. Okay. So you two will probably have to get a sales permit and file annual reports and do all those other little fun paperwork things that are needed to be done.
Which means I gotta do that for JBD. That's due tonight too. I'm gonna be late.
Okay.
By one day. I have to file an annual report for JBD investigations by the 25th.
Okay, so I don't know if the audience can see this, but here, I want to start with a highlight to just, shall we say, give some spice to this evening's discussion. Anyway, my hashtag was Iran's.
I'm here.
Okay, got to stay in the camera.
I know, I understand, but we have household duties to perform. Okay, we're back. I'm listening.
Right. Okay, so
yes,
here we have the map of Iran, and let's go to the obvious. There's Tehran. I'm moving my cursor there. Maybe you can see it. That's the capital.
I see it.
Okay.
I think.
But now, so most of the conflict, if you will, has been happening down here in the Hormuz Strait, as well as hitting the various military sites, right?
Yes.
But now I need to draw your attention to right over here.
Wait, I'm trying to follow your cursor here. Okay.
You see the cursor moving around there?
I see.
Okay, the name of that city is Mashhad. Depending upon who you're talking to, that is the second or third largest city in Iran with a population of 3 million people.
It's a good size.
Okay. But notice that it's way over here, close to, Afghanistan. Okay, this is the common border between Iran and Afghanistan. Down there's Pakistan. Okay. It turns out we have a combination here. Remember, I had mentioned earlier about these Iranian guys who have been hiding out in mosques? They were doing that in the town of Mashhad. Okay, in the town of Mashhad, that's where they're hanging out. And besides hanging out in the mosque, they wanted to boogie on over to Afghanistan to get away.
Okay, good. Get them out of there.
Okay, well, here's the problem. You have to think about who is not on this map. Okay, so there are two. I'm going to mention Tajikistan up here that's not on the map, but they're an important part of the story here. So now over on the western side, if we keep going, we will come across a little country called Israel. And Israel has been sending the Mossad in to Tehran. Well, guess what? The Mossad has sent folks over to Mashhad, all the way over to the other side of the country. You'd think they'd be kind of focusing over here, but no, they went all the way over to Mashhad. And the report is that when Mossad got to Mashhad, they decided to hunt down these Basij guys, and as the story goes, over 200 Basij members are no longer with us. They have been shot dead.
Excellent.
Okay, so that's the report on that part. Meantime, down here,
sounds like our intelligence work is going quite well. Then
it would appear, yes. Now you're going to hear me say it again. Great, we've destroyed all these facilities and all these resources for the military in this huge country of 90 million people, but they've still got a lot left. That's the problem. Still got a lot left. You know, another town that we should be paying attention to, or will be later, is right down here. moving the cursor around is right there. It's Bushehr. Okay.
That cursor's tiny on my.
Yeah, well, this map is, not the best, and we don't have all the things
it's
that
a
we need.
start. It's a good start.
Yeah. Now, Karg Island, I'm not sure, but I think I'm almost certain that little dot is Karg Island right there.
Right across from Bahrain, right directly across from Qatar.
Yeah, I could be wrong. It might be up here near Bushehr. Can't get a straight answer, but this, as we know, this whole coastal area here, right there, I mean, if you want to go out, say 30 miles to this side, 30 miles to the other side, all of this is absolutely peppered with various kinds of storage facilities for missiles, attack boats, submarines, ships, you name it. Okay. And so this is where a lot of the action has been in terms of, Air Force attacks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that said, again, it's not clear how many we've really nailed. And so the other problem, I got to just make the point here. Part one, all this talk about taking Karg Island. Karg Island is so obvious to attack, okay, because it's an oil terminal. Vast amount of their oil resources are pumped through Karg Island into ships that then go out and make their deliveries. Okay. So attacking, it's obvious. We bombed the hell out of it, but according to President Trump, we avoided attacking the oil infrastructure on that island. Okay. Now the Iranian government has come back and said, well, we've been reinforcing the island. We're sending out more troops, putting up more defenses. And hey, guys, I'm just going to say it, booby traps. Okay. Don't put it past the Iranian military to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have that going on. Meantime, I got a new word for you. Are you ready for this new word?
I'm ready.
Atesh. Atesh. That's sort of, I guess, an Americanized shorthand name for the Iranian Army of the Islamic Republic. Okay.
Atesh.
Yes, Atesh.
Okay.
So.
Is it an anagram or a word?
What? It's an
anagram or a word?
It's a nickname, I guess, would be the way I would describe it.
All right.
And so Atesh is not to be confused with the IRGC. Two different animals, even though they're both military. Okay. Think of the IRGC as the Palace Guard.
Okay.
While Atesh is distributed all throughout the country. In terms of numbers of soldiers in Atesh, depending upon who you're talking to.
The Iranian infantry?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is said that Atesh is not as well funded or well armed as IRGC, but they still have a role to play throughout the country. Okay. And
so safe to say many of them are dead, perhaps.
No, not at all. This is the other point. No, not that many of soldiers have been killed. We've been killing mostly assets, static assets on the ground. Okay,
maybe that aren't guarded by soldiers. Static accesses that aren't guarded by soldiers.
Yeah, but not all of them.
No, of course not all of them. I'm not saying we killed them all. We must have killed a significant number.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to throw around numbers of people who've been killed. Who knows? Okay, how many casualties? We looked at a source several days ago that suggested 3,000, but it could be more. So, I'm not quite sure what to say about it just yet.
Yeah, we don't know.
There's this is my intro here. I am not an expert. Mm-hmm. All right. I am ignorant, but I'm trying to overcome my ignorance by learning as much as I can about this country and what's going on.
Using logic.
And a certain amount of logic, a certain amount of, common sense, baby.
Hey, what do you know?
Yeah. All right. Okay. So the Atesh army is described as secular. okay, and not as ideological like the IRGC is.
Okay.
Okay. So IRGC could also be thought of as an army of ideology, while in a sense the Atesh is more like, well, it's not quite the right statement. It's like the National Guard, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
spread all throughout Iran. And so I guess you can see that there might be some lack of connection between Atesh and IRGC, similar to the lack of connection between the National Guard and the U.S. Army.
And it could also be said, if they're not thought to be as ideologically based, that perhaps a more benevolent, in the best case scenario, more benevolent, they could be served under a more benevolent government just as loyally, perhaps.
Right. So then the next question becomes about how much are we seeing in the way of defections of various kinds? And, again, I'm not seeing a lot of defections. There's some, okay. But for example, I was complaining about, I've been complaining, but now I've got to start shutting up about it. Why aren't there people in the street? Well, it's a damn good reason. That is because they'll get shot. And the point is that many people have been issuing public warnings to the people of Iran to stay indoors.
Including us. We've been telling them to stay indoors as well until we're done with our campaign.
Right.
So that's a date we're all looking forward to. And something that Trump mentioned in the beginning of the war, and I hope that's still on the table.
Yeah.
We're at sort of an all-clear point where we feel like we've weakened them enough to where the people can come out into the street, because they're out. They're, like I mentioned before, they're in there. They're there.
Right. Well,
there was a million of them out in the street just 3 months ago, so they're out there.
Okay. And there's another unconfirmed report that some civilians have been themselves killing some of these Bashir guys. I think I mentioned that before. So you get, out of all the, let's say out of 50 news items that I see, okay, a lot of them are centered around what's going on with Washington, these phony negotiations, and trying to do some mind reading and what Israel's doing. And then more of the reports might look at, well, what are we hearing from the Iranian government, such as they are? And then you start to pick up these little bits and pieces things. There's a story here, a story there that kind of, gives you a little bit more insight into what's going on, but they're not. These are things that are not commonly reported, so you don't know what to believe.
Misinformation is part of the weapon of war.
Okay, well, in this case, what we find is the press, on the one hand, is trying to objectively report it, but on the other hand, as I said before, they're doing anything they can to provide aid and comfort to the IRGC.
Mm-hmm.
Pox on their house. Yeah.
Yeah. Our own American media, or at least some of our most of our mainstream media, is basically a weapon of the enemy. It's hard. It's a real head scratcher to me. It's disappointing as can be.
Right. So
that's surprising.
All right. So let me give you an example of one small tidbit of a report. Again, we don't know, but. So on the one hand, as I said, the Iranian government has warned that they are reinforcing Karg Island. Now, reinforcing is going to mean replacing what's already been destroyed from the previous attacks, and that includes air defense systems. So we have a report from Mossad in Israel indicating that the air defense systems of some of the cities have been removed. They don't know where they've gone, but they've been removed. So we think that the Iranian government is making their own call on what areas don't need to be defended as strongly, and they're taking those air defense systems and putting them on Karg Island. To what end, I have no idea. But okay, so that's just one tiny report, which, may or may not.
Well, my understanding is that a lot of the Arab nations are joining in the fight now. They're worried that we're going to drop out because on these fake negotiations.
Yeah. No, you see, I think
there's a whole world against Iran, and this is ridiculous. They're not going to last.
All right. As one person said, don't ignore what Trump says, but pay attention to what he does.
Yeah.
Okay. and all this stuff about a 15-point plan and whether or not they're talking to each other, and this gift that impressed Trump that was sent by the Iranian government.
Part of the misinformation campaign.
There's a level at which this is just kabuki theater, as far as I'm concerned. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and while all that bluster is going on, what's happening, right? The Marines are getting in position.
Closer and
The
closer.
82nd Airborne is on its way, as far as we know. Okay. And by the way, the thing that we should not ignore, although I think it's very easy to do so, is that this is an opportunity for what limited military resources there are with Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. Some of that could be integrated with the American military. Minor roles, but it's a valuable opportunity for them to learn a little bit about combat. This is it. This is the big moment, guys. So that's something else to consider. Now, all of this said, so there's a lot of attention focused on Kharg Island. I'd mentioned this other island, Tuban Island, to you the other day, Greater Tuban Island. So in fact, I think
they're both along. I think they're both right along. I can't really point to it.
Okay, but right here.
They're both on the southern end, along the coast of Iran, on the southern side of the strait, where it's at the most narrow at the peak, toward the southern
here
side of that. Along that coast is where I think they are, both Kharg Island and the other one you're talking about.
Yeah, no. Well, the map I saw,
very small on this map. You can't see it there.
It's these two little dots here, I think, are the ones that are the Tuban Islands that I mentioned.
Way down there.
Okay, but you can see there are other islands here that nobody's talking about.
There's a lot of islands around there. There's a few islands in there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So all of this said,
those are uninhabited, though.
Do I have to remind anyone about good old General MacArthur?
I shall return.
Yes. Well, what else? If I said Incheon, do you know what I'm talking about? Or Incheon? No?
Nope.
Okay. In the Korean War, America got chased out at first, but came back and, shall we say, reinvaded. And General MacArthur found a place that was very poorly defended because nobody thought that anybody in their right mind would stage an invasion force there. But that's exactly what MacArthur did. And that's why he was so successful. Okay. He did the unexpected. And the problem I'm having is we can expect from both Iran and America doing the unexpected, okay? Because they're, on the one hand, America, I mean, with Trump, it's all this big bluster and all, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we are making an impact. It does look like we're winning, but there's a level at which this is happy talk. I'm sorry. Okay. If you're not making an honest accounting of the ways in which the Iranians are pushing back, you're not doing us any favors. Okay. Maybe trying to make us feel good. That's great. But, there's more to be had for those who are tuning in about the story there, right there. If you can see it about Mashhad. Okay.
Yeah. They're not going to go down without, they're going to go down swinging as much as possible. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. And I'm seeing more and more commentators beginning to state, I'm going to say it, what I was talking about a week ago or more, is that they saw this coming, at least since back June. They have a history of their fight with Iraq. Okay. Yeah. So they understand how to how to array their forces throughout the country. And so look for booby traps, look for decoys. Look for the things that are going to mislead you. And is there any discussion of that? No. But if you go back to the history of Vietnam, it was all about punji sticks and every other dirty trick that the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong were pulling. We had to learn the hard way from that stuff. And maybe we have to learn the hard way from this too. All right. So all of that said, let me just see here if we're getting commentary here that I don't know about. Oh my God.
I think that this is going to be different though, because there is going to be a clear objective here to take this. As far as Vietnam, there's a lot of questions about what the military objective was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So I think here they were a little bit more determined to
Yeah.
If
So
we got to
we
go, if we got to eventually got to go northwest to southeast and just sweep the whole country, which is what we should have done in Iraq when they
okay,
talked
but
about
look
weapons
at
of
how
mass
big it is.
destruction. Yeah, but
No,
remember when Iraq how they
no.
decided they were going to look for weapons of mass destruction? I'm thinking, great, they're going to line up across one side of the country, they're going to walk it through and find these things. But no, they just did little individual raids at different places. That's not going to find anything.
Well, all right. I have a different theory. Yes, you can say Iran sucks. And let me just go through some of these comments. Tawatap, whatever that means. Hell yeah, maps. Okay, that's right. The whole idea. You can't function without maps, right? You can't tell a player without the program, right? Joe MacArthur, that would be General MacArthur. Okay. Kyra said,
Douglas MacArthur. I thought
he's
his name was
okay.
Douglas. Wait a minute.
You're a stud. Yeah, okay.
Wasn't his name Douglas
Guten
MacArthur?
Abend. Guten Abend, mein Freunden. Yeah.
The Douglas thing.
It's the FRN. So, look, we can feel this way. What's this? Court likes well-built Persian. Yeah, right. That's funny. Your colon sounds impacted. You might be close to the truth. Let's see here. What is 16 watching boys? Yeah. Well, we had, now they're gone. Well, it was like a storm. This is weird. We had all these people. Diabetes faker. Yeah, I wish. Ooga booga wife. Yeah, it's funny. It's like a group of them. They came storming in. They made their comments like a flash mob of commenters, and then they just left. Okay, all right. You had your fun. Yeah, history. Could I talk about history? Well, which history do you want to talk about? All right.
Persian.
I would like to suggest we need to be talking about the history that teaches us something about this, right? History is supposed to be a great teacher. And, Persia as an empire, has a history of both being a winner and a loser in a lot of different conflicts. And so, you talk about history, but it's history in the context of all these different cultures that make up Iran. Okay. I mean, sure, people like to point out that the Persian culture is 5,000 years old. Okay. Well, how about the Azeris? How about the Kurds? Okay. What about these other groups? What's their history? And there's a long history of conflict between these groups. But, we're sitting here talking about, the IRGC versus the secular component. And what was it? There was another, boring. Okay. Move on, Scott Schaefer. You don't have to stay here. Okay. It's interesting. I'll have to think about that. There's so many unknowns for us. This is why it's hard for us to say anything that's really definitive. And
I think we should be carpet bombing along. I think we should be carpet bombing along the Iranian coast around the Gulf of Hormuz and just take care of business.
I think there was some discussion of that, but again, it's got to be focused. But here's my take on it. I'm sure others have been thinking along these lines too. Somewhere there has to be a sufficient number of people, but this requires a sufficient number of defections to set up take a town. Let's go back to the big screen here. I'll just pick one. It wouldn't be Iran. Bandar. How about Bandar and Abbas right there. Okay. Set up a provisional government there. All right. And then all the things that come with being a government suddenly start to happen there. Have a conflict there with Tehran. Okay.
Yeah, turn it into a civil war, and there'll be less resources on us, and then we just help them take them down from the inside.
Yes, I mean, given that, what was the source? Another person claimed that the support for the Islamic government is even smaller than people realize.
Sure, they're a bunch
of thugs.
They're a bunch of thugs. Okay. That's a great idea. We could
is what they were saying.
We could send our forces in, just take one random city, set up a provisional government there, and go.
Okay, we would just have to function as a catalyst, okay? And then from there, let's see. And from there, you just got to start drawing support. Okay, and what will happen is you take that town, and then you kind of march it up here. Where is that? Lar, Shiraz, Isij. So the
Down
notion
by
is
town.
that it's kind of like a spreading fire in a way. I mean, I think this
But
is the obvious thing.
unlike
But you have to
Vietnam,
have
you
that
occupy
at the
unlike
center point there that forms the new government.
unlike Vietnam though, you take and hold. You don't take and withdraw. Take and
No,
hold.
yes, you have to stay. That's right.
Stay where you are. Right.
That
Unlike
you bring that
Vietnam.
up. That you bring that up is very interesting. Just to say so. The what was it?
Therein lies the difference.
Afghanistan, their neighbor, is a country that has been at war for eons.
Mhm.
Eons. Okay. And so what's the nature of the fight? You have these clans that war with each other. Okay.
Bunch of
And
wacky Muslims.
they're attacking each other. But the one thing they don't do, they don't hold territory. They attack and retreat.
Mhm.
That's all they do, attack and retreat. So if your, quote, doctrine is attack and retreat, you're going to be a nation at war forever.
That's right. Attack and hold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you respect each other to say that's your territory. We might attack it, but we're not going to keep it. We care about you that much. Yeah.
It makes no sense, but
Right. Anyway, so
well, that's probably the way to. That's probably this is ultimately. If we want to rid the earth of the mullahs, that will take years.
okay, yes.
But if we want to turn the government of Iran over to a more friendly regime, we can pull that off in months.
All right. Look, what I think is slowly emerging as the, quote, Trump doctrine here is the idea that you cannot expect to accomplish regime change.
No.
There must be what should we say, a domestic political force in place that will be the new government. If you
that would be, I guess we should break it down into, foreign influenced regime change versus internal regime change. We still want regime change, but we want it to be from the people of Iran, an internal regime change, not something fomented by us.
Right. So, I mean, that's the other thing. I've been seeing more comments of, supportive of Pahlavi and expecting him to be the one who's going to take over. Any political movement takes a long time to establish. That's just a fact. So, I don't know. I mean, this in my mind is the ideal arrangement. Okay, we set up a little government there. Pahlavi declares that he's coming back, and that's where he is. Okay, so the IRGC is going to try to come after him as best they can. And this is the critical moment. This is where we're counting on such a large number of defections, such as from Atesh, who will then form up around this government. And unfortunately, you're going to have this battle going on between Atesh and the IRGC.
Civil war.
And, we're going to be helping Atesh out in every way that we can. And Mossad is going to be running a flanking action here in various ways.
And the IRGC's resources are going to dwindle as time goes on.
Right.
Because they're already been taking a hit.
Right. So maybe that's the scenario that unfolds as far as that's concerned. Now, the other thing is about around 7 o'clock our time, that Saudi Arabia got attacked again by Iran.
I heard about that.
Okay. So there you go.
They're attacking all their neighbors, so that's not helping endearing them to anybody.
Yeah.
Who would they have for an ally other than underhanded Russia, maybe?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mentioned earlier a company called Tajikistan. So again, I go back to the point that Iran has figured this stuff out long before we did, and I am led to believe that as far as logistics and equipment support is concerned, they set up shop in a country you cannot see here. Here. I think you have to go back, if you were to expand the map, somewhere around here. Okay, there's a country called Tajikistan. All right. And you got roads.
It's right up here at the very top.
No.
Oh, that's Turkestan.
That's Uzbekistan.
Okay.
So Tajikistan is a smaller country next to Uzbekistan. I think it's between Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, but see, they didn't put it up there.
Okay.
Okay.
We believe you.
All right. But so there are roads, there's trucking, there are goods that move. And so you'd have like, what's that? Ashgabat, yes. Ashgabat would be almost a border town.
Okay.
Right. And so the goods would move through a quote port of entry like that. There was a picture where there was like, as far as the eye could see, there were trucks that were coming from what looked like Tajikistan through Turkmenistan to go into Iran, delivering God knows what, but I think we can reasonably assume that would have been military material, including drones.
So why aren't we in there bombing that?
It's a sovereignty thing. Okay.
Oh, you mean up in that country?
Yeah.
Well, you wait till as soon as we see it getting into Iran, you bomb it right there in your little town.
Okay.
I can't read that. Afghanistan. I know there's civilian considerations, but convoy weapons certainly. Excuse me.
All right, but there's this larger thing here that you got to be aware of. Okay. If I had something to draw on here, I'll have to experiment with that. The point is, you know what a Venn diagram is, right? Yeah. Okay, so you draw one circle, that's Iran. Then you have Russia, that's a little bit of an overlap with Iran. China, a little bit of an overlap with Iran, okay? And then Pakistan works with China. You're aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, in Pakistan working with China, they would also be helping out Iran in some fashion. So the point is, Iran has outsourced a lot of things that would normally be destroyed if we got our hands on them. And what this does is it expands the scope of what we think of as the conflict. We talk about how Iran is a proxy for Russia and China, but in another respect, these other countries are proxies for Iran, and in turn with Russia and China. So you have this expanded area of conflict that's going on. Okay.
But there's nothing being fired out of anywhere but in Iran. So at the end of the day,
well,
despite these confluences,
shall I just state the obvious? Iran does not respect Mossad does not respect borders. Then again, neither does the CIA.
No, but is there any evidence of anything being launched out of anywhere other than against our allies other than Iran?
No. The launching is within Iran, but the point is the logistical support, the supplies, the materials. Right.
So hopefully I guess is my point. We have good intel. You and I are aware of this. If you and I are aware of this, certainly our military was aware before we were, and hopefully they're all over it. I mean, why let them stage and set up? I mean, why let them? At some point, these materials are entering the nation of Iran and being placed in a location to be used against us. So I would think we'd be all over that and just never give them the opportunity to do that.
Right.
We know about it. Certainly they do.
Okay. So also the UK is sending minesweepers.
Hey, all right.
All right.
They have the best of the minesweepers, I understand, too.
All right. Well, we'll see. But so that will be interesting. Yes. And now the funny thing here is that Ukraine is becoming a supplier to the U.S.
with drone technology, correct?
Yes.
And also anti-drone technology.
So get this. There was, that's another element here in terms of the expansion of this conflict. So there was a NATO exercise recently. Okay, Ukraine somehow got to participate in this NATO exercise involving sea drones.
Okay.
Ukraine embarrassed everybody.
They know what they're doing, huh?
They know what they're doing, and they won in that exercise big time. So it just further underscored the fact that the NATO countries have a lot of catching up to do in terms of their own capabilities.
Well, they've been relying on us for the last 60 years.
Yeah, well. So anyway, now I'm going to shift gears a little bit to what I think is a very important issue.
Now, I could read that when we had the full screen, but with the map, I cannot read that.
Okay. All right. We'll get rid of the map for now.
Yeah, I've got to ace the map.
I'm going to see here. This.
If that's as easy as said than done.
Oh, let's see here.
Map, take over.
There.
Ah, there we go.
Right. Okay.
I can see my dimples. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, here we go. Trump's fear.
Okay.
Trump's fear of a elongated war.
I mean, you hear him talk a lot, and reasonably so, about not wanting to, quote, waste American lives on this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's a sense, okay, that we could be confronting something not unlike Tar Baby. I mean, right now, it's recognized that if you talk about leaving, kind of dangerous to talk about leaving.
Well, like giving up, we can't do that.
Right. Okay. Conversely, if we decide to stay and we have to push harder, all right, once you put boots on the ground, when can you really take those boots back home?
Then it turns into a multiple months, maybe
worse.
years.
It gets worse, not better.
It gets
all
worse.
right. Okay. So given that's the case, you have to be able to answer for yourself, what am I going to do that will speed up the resolution of this conflict? Otherwise, our guys are going to be stuck in that country for a way too long a time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right.
Well, I wonder if they must have a kind of a ground game plan that has a time frame that they were hoping not to use, that they may have to use.
Yeah. Well, I think the word plan has to be used loosely here because there's constant adaptation. Again, like my hashtag, Iran's ugly surprises. You can expect ugly surprises from Iran, even as we're degrading their resources.
Let me ask you this question, and I'm asking you genuinely. I don't really know the answer. We took down Saddam Hussein on April of 2003, and we had our troops obviously in Baghdad.
It wasn't until December of that year that we actually got him.
That we actually got him, right? We took down the statue in April. But I guess my question is, how long did our boots on the ground remain in Iraq? Do we still have boots on the ground in Iraq today?
Yes, we do.
Wow. See, there you go. That's your point.
Mm-hmm. It's a small number, but there they are. Okay. And they don't. But the other sad story here is because we know that Iraq is a Shia majority country, like Iran, and Hussein was a Sunni Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
By losing him, Iraq eventually became a Shia country like Iran, even if they're still maintaining some kind of political sovereignty and independence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just another little tidbit. So yes, we're talking about going in there and upsetting the existing balance in some fashion. So I think that what we have learned in the years now from Iraq and Afghanistan is that you can be too heavy-handed and you can upset things in such a way that you're going to get
insurgency
results contrary to what you expected.
I think that, honestly, in my opinion, if I was in charge here, I would say that whatever boots you put on the ground in Iran should not be considered combat troops, more of training. Like maybe if get to a point where these asshats are talking about, Atesh,
A-T-E-S, Atesh.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Atesh and other perhaps regular men that live in Iran that want to help fix the country and train these troops, train Iran to have its own boots on the ground. And you could you're still going to have technically boots on the ground, but the optics are better for regular Arab citizens of Iran that don't like the idea of American troops running around their country. Even if they hated the old mullahs, they also would theoretically hate the idea of American troops running around the streets as well. So to put boots on the ground on the guise of, yeah, a few special forces to take care of business, but for the most part, maybe just training and support, to help Iran build its own strong democratic military structure that's secular and will
well, I mean, if we go back
that's kind of the way to go. I think in Iraq we made the mistake of just too much boots on the ground combat troop kind of thing going on. Maybe we should try not to do that as much.
I think the big mistake in Iraq was uprooting everybody who had anything to do with the government. So remember, this was the Ba'athist Party members, especially with the military. They were yanked out. You haven't got a job. Get out of here. You're on your own. And so, you had a ready-made insurgency there.
You can understand that was a mistake. We can understand what the thinking was behind that. But I would suggest a vetting process.
And it's called, when it comes to Iran, don't make that mistake again.
No, do a vetting process. Right?
Well, all right, if we go back now to what he's doing with Venezuela, that somewhere there might be a vetting process, but what he's started with is that he's expecting the leadership, that woman, whatever her name is, that she's going to set the tone. She's going to follow orders from America, and she gets to keep her job so long as she does those things. All right?
Yeah.
All right. So the if you will, the political culture of Venezuela has largely been left intact as a result.
Right.
Okay. But under new direction, under new management, if you will. So the big question is whether or not an idea like that can work with Iran. And
probably not as easily, considering the theological aspect.
Yeah. All right, look, Iran is sandwiched. Iran is sandwiched between our two biggest mistakes.
Yeah.
Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah. All right. Been in that area before. Had a few dealings with them there folks before. Didn't exactly go the way we hoped in both cases, but for different reasons.
To be honest, anything that shakes out in Iran is better than what we had before, or just about anything anyway.
Well, I don't want to look at it that way. I want to look at it like Trump, I think, is, where he's saying, what set of circumstances do we need to create such that we can eventually say, you've got it, we're going home, we're good friends now, I'll give you a call next week.
Yeah. Well, that will take years.
We're going to exchange ambassadors, and we're on our way. Okay.
That'll take a while.
Yes, it will very much take a while.
Take a while. Years, not months.
And so this comes back to Trump's fear.
Yeah, but when I say it takes years, it doesn't mean we're going to have a Operation Fury for years. This doesn't mean we're going to have war for years. We're not going to have war like this for years. I think we can still wrap this up this fall, this summer. Right. I just think that the ultimate goal that we're speaking of here will take years.
All right. I'm painting sort of the same picture here in my mind, and that is that the political culture will show up. Let's just say for now it's Reza Pahlavi, and he gets enough supporters around him that he's able to start a provisional government. All right. And then we need to see the other side giving in, cooperating, joining in some fashion. And I say this, but I've also said that I think there'll be a lot of them who won't quit. You'll have your insurgency.
Oh yeah, there's no Islamic fundamentalist side is gonna. None of the theologically minded on their side are going to join in. They're going to fight to the death. So that's why it's going to drag. Some of this is going to drag on.
Yeah. All right. So, but I'm not sure what that's going to look like. It's
we have to let them handle their own affairs as much as possible and keep ourselves out of it. Ultimately,
that's
once the security part of it is over, it's about turning it over to them.
Yeah. All right. So let me talk about the other part about Trump's fear. Okay. I'm going to set it up this way. The extent of Donald Trump's experience in the military was in a military academy in his high school years. Remember that part of his story?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. And he did get in a little trouble. He was a bit of a hellion in a military academy, so you can imagine how that went down. Okay.
Well, free thinkers don't do well in the military, unfortunately.
Yes, but he went on to the University of Pennsylvania. Did fine. Thank you. All right. So that's the background. There is a lesson every officer, every combat officer has to learn. All right.
Okay.
And if you cannot live with the following, if you're not able to execute understanding the following, then you really should not be a combat officer. Knowing you're in a firefight, for example, and now you want to have a unit detached and go over to flank the enemy somewhere, doing that, knowing full well that you're sending some of those men to their death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's tough. That's real tough. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're going to do combat, you have to be able to make that decision.
That's correct.
So, and just to make the point, there was a Star Trek episode from Star Trek Next Generation. You remember that show?
I sure do.
Yes. What was the name of the woman? What was the name of the woman who played the empath?
That I remember the show. I'm better with the original Star Trek. So
Yeah, that. But the Next Generation was good too. In any event, so she approached Stryker, who is the number 2,
okay.
To get officer training, because she was basically like staff. As an empath, she had a certain role, but she wanted to become an officer. So he was taking her through the training. They're doing a simulation, and she was not handling it well. And there was a point where he had to stop her and tell her just what I told you. If you're going to do this kind of work, you have to accept that you're going to make decisions where you may be sending people to their death.
Mm-hmm.
And as it turns out, she couldn't handle it, so she didn't become an officer. Okay. All right. That's the setup for Trump's
fear.
Okay.
Sending soldiers to die.
All right. Here's the touching story you did not hear.
Okay.
As you know, he invited to the White House the parents of some of the soldiers who got killed.
Okay.
And what they don't talk about was how warm, personal, and direct he was with those parents who had lost their children. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there was even a moment, it is reported, where Trump was near tears, near tears for them. I can't think of any, maybe some presidents cry in private over these losses. But, you know, I guess he had to communicate to them that he cared and that he, you know, just.
Not just that he had to communicate, he actually truly, genuinely did care, and it probably just came right out naturally,
Okay.
which
Right.
which is awesome, really.
All right, you can handle that if you're talking about a few deaths. How are you going to handle it when you're talking about a few thousand deaths?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that maybe, hopefully, air power can do more. You know, that's such a valuable thing that we're superior. We can't win it with air power, but the more we can do with it.
Okay. I think the sense is that so long as you can demonstrate that you're doing more damage, destroying more resources, that yes, their ability to push back is becoming weaker and weaker. Great.
Especially directly targeting. I heard some story last week about how they were directly targeting the buildings and the housing where these Iranian soldiers are that come out and shoot you when you go into the street. These thugs.
Yes.
Like they're targeting them directly.
We just talked about with the mosque in Mashhad. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, but that's not enough. That is not enough. You don't know if you got it all. Okay. What kind of preparations did the IRGC undergo in order to conserve their resources and still have the ability to fight back?
I'm sure they utilize the human shield thing a lot.
not just a human shield, being
That's
able
a
to hide
major thing.
things. And what I just said about booby traps, okay, and decoys, all those things, right? So I just, yeah. So it's not going to go easy. And so I'm, again, going back to Trump's fear, it's not clear in my mind that he is clear in his heart about what it's going to take if they're going to use booby traps and decoys and have these hidden resources and are doing all these other things that are unexpected, right? And just to throw it in, okay, the Iranians are perfectly capable of being resilient too. So they could have thought of something totally new that's going to take us by surprise yesterday. And right now, they're secretly putting the plans together to execute this wild new idea that you just came up with.
Well, here's another thing that we haven't considered too much is that why are we assuming that if we do have to have, say, 25,000 or 15,000 boots on the ground, why is there this assumption that you and I have been making, I think, maybe not, that this makeup of troops has to be all Americans? I mean, what about an international boots on the ground coalition with including some Americans, but does it have to be all us? I mean, I know that they're. And what about the Saudis and these other Arab nations that have now joined us on our side and they're saying we got to finish this?
Okay, like I said
a few minutes ago, all Americans dying here.
Like I said just a few minutes ago, this is an opportunity for the Gulf countries. An opportunity.
NATO as well. I mean,
yeah, and well,
the international coalition we used before, we can use it again.
Well, I would, or let's go back to Desert Shield. Okay, I don't know if you remember, but there was a big deal at the time because then President George Bush put together the most incredible coalition of countries committing soldiers, okay? Egyptians, Jordanians, Australians, okay? He had troops from Africa, perhaps. And they all had different roles to play in the impending invasion, right? So, so President Trump has not succeeded in doing that yet, but I would like to believe, especially if we've really degraded their forces that much, should we go ahead with some kind of an invasion plan? And I don't know, if I was going to, it's going to have to be something along the coastline. That's a given. But it'll have to be something along the coastline that is poorly defended. And it's something that the Iranians told themselves, no, the Americans would never go there. So assuming that gets set up and they establish a beachhead there, well, I feel maybe like somewhere some European troops will get committed to that.
I think we would have also, as we do progress in a situation like that, maybe a little more so than in Iraq, maybe a little more help from the people of Iran along the way, because what they've been through with the mullah is a lot worse, and I just feel like we'd have a little more support as long as we do it the right way among the people as we would endeavor in such an invasion, especially with the internet. We don't need 80 countries involved, but NATO and some other of the Arab League nations in the Middle East would be nice. That would give it more legitimacy among the people of Iran as well. Because even people that I find in the Middle East, even people that want freedom, still don't particularly love the United States. So we're not particularly popular in the Middle East. Let's put it that way.
Fair statement.
You know who we're most popular with in the Middle East? The poorest of the people that know that they could do better.
Like who?
I think the people that are the most suppressed economically, the most down and out, that are at least to have enough awareness, are the ones that would be the friendliest toward us, because they've suffered the most under the current regime. So
maybe
it won't be easy, but I just think that the more we can get at international help. I think they're working on. I like to think they're working on building an international force. Maybe not as diverse as the one from Desert Storm, but something a little more.
Yeah.
and not just pure American troops. Anyway, that's what I think should happen.
Okay, fair enough.
You got something you want to shift to? We got a few more minutes. Is there anything else you got on your mind?
Well,
Not related to Iran?
yeah, so much. Well, I'm trying to weigh this, but I don't know if you saw the announcement. There was this court ruling now that YouTube and Meta have been held liable for.
Yeah.
Okay, so on its own merits, that's pretty devastating.
You think $3 million, $6 million? YouTube's got to pay 1 point something, and Meta's got to pay 4 point something million dollars.
Million?
That is not devastating. No, million with an M. That is nothing for those companies. Nothing.
All right, but they're still appealing it. So
they're still appealing it. So it's a tough one for me because I know how social media has hurt children, but it's hard to blame. It's almost the same argument. It's the parents. Like, it's the same argument as with guns. It's not the guns that kill the people. It's the people when they're using the guns. It's not the social media platform that causes the problem. It's the parents that let their kids willy-nilly use it and don't police it and don't. Now, there probably should be more safeguards against. I know Australia's banned it for kids altogether. There should probably be. I noticed when I first started getting on the internet and I'd go on sites, I'd say sometimes some of the sites would say, "Are you 18 or over?" You check the box, and you're in. To me, that is a facetious argument at best. I mean, I even thought to myself then, I was in my 20s. I think, what is that? What is the good of that? Is that a CYA for a later lawsuit?
Well, I think
to me, a $3 million verdict is like a $1 verdict for you or me.
Okay. Well, it's not gone away. It's gone on appeal. It's going to be appealed. And I think we're going to be looking at this a lot more, at least on the face of it. This is about responsible use of social media.
Right. And there needs to be guardrails. Parents need to wake up.
Yahoo and Meta have not been, YouTube and Meta have not been, quote, enablers. They're just sort of a channel or a conduit
for
this stuff. So all of that said, we've had this debate back and forth of what is it called? Rule 230 or something, whether or not you're recognized as a publisher or a public utility. Okay, so we're sitting here sharing information with each other, and YouTube is allowing us to rent their land, so to speak.
Exactly it. If you're setting up, but here's the other. On the other hand, if you're setting up algorithms and different things on your site that a child can click on that results in direct harm, I mean, there needs to be some. I'm not saying that AI, these companies are completely exonerated. Really, they need to put up safeguards. They need more safeguards and guardrails for kids. That's really what the outcome needs to be. And I would say, look, we don't need your money. We just need to set up more guardrails and safeguards, and maybe actually make a person scan an ID. They want to be on certain sites that are for adults, certain areas that are for adults. But if I think the idea of a child under 13 even using Facebook undersupervised, to me, is ridiculous.
But it happens,
It happens in mass. It's become, for a while, I think maybe things are changing now, but for a while it was completely accepted style of parenting, just to turn your kid off and let him go willy-nilly on Facebook or YouTube or whatever.
Right.
Kid's 6, 7 years old.
Right. So anyway, I'm going to bring up that name. Parents. All right, changing the subject again. Kate Prokop.
Yeah, what about Kate?
So she put up a long post on X, I think, just making the point that the legislature in Connecticut has just gotten worse and worse, and I guess she's trying to get more people to do something about it.
Well,
I don't know that I could find it. Sorry.
I'm on board with that. We got to vote everybody out of there. These people have gone completely rogue, and I mean completely parliamentary, anti-people. I don't know. I can't. Is there even a word for it other than rogue? Unlawful, unconstitutional, anti-constitutional.
Here, hold on.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism? I don't know.
Come on. So here she is. Hold on.
It's been a few days since I have posted anything on social media. I have
Right.
taken a much needed break from technology for the last 5 days, and I returned today.
Yeah. Come on. So,
Hey guys, Kate Prokop.
all right, maybe we can find it here. Let's see. So she lives in Griswoldville. All right. People's advocate, she calls herself. So where are her here? All right, so she's posting the candidates, but that's not the issue here. See, this is the one. So this is, this goes back to March 12th. So that's not the latest, but
Well, we need massive protests at the state capitol like daily. That's how bad this is, really.
yeah. Well, anyway.
Well,
So-
listen, I'm ready to wrap it up for tonight. We're ready to wrap it up for tonight. We got a lot to do tomorrow. I got to get some sleep. I got some more work to do before this day's over.
Yeah, how are you handling it?
I cracked a drug bust case today.
Oh, what happened
Oh, yeah.
there?
Oh, I can't say too much, but I will say that the cops were saying that it was intent to sell, and I was able to prove that there was no intent to sell. It was just personal use. Still illegal, but it's a much lesser charge if you're not selling it. So
Well,
cops were wrong. They were lying. Look, you know what it is? When you're doing public defender work or public defender work for people who have been charged with crimes,
yeah.
people sometimes will say to me, "Oh, how can you defend criminals and murderers and rapists, blah, blah, blah." No. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to be thorough and cover everything. So that way, if this person did this rape or this murder or this serious crime, and by being thorough in their defense and making sure everything is covered, that if they're convicted, they get convicted, they can't appeal it. There's nothing to appeal because we've already taken care of it. Throw away the key, we covered it all.
Right.
And in that one, when the police arrest somebody, they charge them with an offense, they put it in court, and then they move on to the next case. The police are very busy. There's so much going on left and right. They can't possibly, no matter how good they are, take the time to really dig into every single case that they bust to get to the real truth. They just don't have enough resources to do that.
All right.
So if you've been charged with a crime that you didn't do, thank goodness you get a good lawyer and a good investigator go in there and get to the truth. And if there is now 97% of the time, 98% of the time, they got it absolutely right. They got the right guy.
Yeah.
But for those 1 or 2% where they got it wrong, they tend to dig in their heels. And then you need an investigator like me or a good public defender or good lawyer to go in and make sure you thoroughly get to the truth and get your kid. So if you're innocent, my goodness, you're not going to get busted. But if you're guilty, we also can make sure you can't appeal. There's nothing to appeal on.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. So we'll pick this up tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night. Good night.
And for those of you on Facebook for Common Sense News and Entertainment,